Christian artists. I want to talk to you about comparison and how we're going to look at it a little differently with our worldview through Christ's eyes than someone else might. Now, you've probably heard about this topic, talked a lot about art in the art world. It's kind of funny how it's so unique and trips us up maybe more or is more prevalent in the artistic creative things, maybe. I don't know, because it was one of God's big top 10 issues of coveting, and comparison is so tied into that. It's so easy to compare rather than be inspired by, and that confusion and that leaning in towards envy stole hours and hours from my life. So I don't want that to happen to you. I want you to be aware of it so it's not going to trip you up and steal what you have. And that's a big part of it. So the comparison game of who suffers more or who has more or who has it worse or who has it better, there is no winner in that game. Whether someone actually is suffering more on a piece of paper with pros and cons, there is no winner because that hurts your relationship. No one wins when the relationship is broken like that. Who's suffering more? Who's working harder? Honestly, you each have hundreds of variables on why you're comparing apples to oranges anyway. So there is no winner. There is no point to that game. Stop it. Honestly, when people are doing that, all they're doing is seeking validation. We want to say, hey, my struggle is real. It hurts. It matters. And it's kind of odd that we actually go up against each other of two people just trying to seek validation of, wow, yeah, what you're going through is kind of tough. Even if that's just your situation and how you perceive it, that doesn't matter. That totally counts. So the next time you look at the comparison game, be aware that you're probably just looking for validation. There's other issues there. Don't give in to that game because it's going to steal things and there's no winner. Comparison versus inspiration, and this is the one I find myself doing and being more aware of it these days, is not being inspired by someone but being mad. Being downright angry, not at them, that they have something I want. They found something that I've been working for, and somehow I perceive that they got it faster and easier. And you probably see thinking of examples right now of yourself, of friends or other artists, and from the information you think you know, they got it so much faster, so much easier. They didn't have to work as hard. And again, there are 100 variables. You are on your own path. You probably have different hurdles. Now be careful about number one, where we're not going to compare about the number one and those different hurdles. You are the hero of your story. They are the hero of theirs. You are on a totally different path. Can't compare it like that. Be aware when you're trying to compare with someone doing that and being inspired by them. So what did they do to get there? Is it something you can try? Is there something they're really trying harder at that you haven't been doing? Have they actually been making consistent art and you haven't? See, that's a whole different thing right there, isn't it? So have they been consistently posting? Have they been getting out there with their art into marketplace, things like that? You might find that when you see someone more visible, they've just been more consistent at getting things out there, talking about it, and being more active in the community. That might be it. Whether the art is good or better or not, that's a different topic altogether, because we've seen people make stick figures and make a living out of it. They've gotten out there. They're tapping into something else. So we're already looking at this with too many variables. And what are we really looking at there? We're trying to make ourselves feel better for being in the place where we are. It's validation again, isn't it? It's about validating where we are in our own journey, and we're frustrated because we want to be somewhere where we're not. You see where that goes into the envy and the comparison again. We want to be something where we're not. We often try to jump ahead a couple spaces, thinking, oh, I need this gorgeous art studio in this giant space to be what I want to be. And so we go after that instead of the art we need to make it there. Become more aware of this myself in the past couple of months and years, because I did absolutely want these gorgeous art studios and I didn't understand how people got them. And they're on a different journey. Also, it's a business decision. Whether you're ready for that or not usually just comes down to numbers. Numbers of what's coming in, what's going out, what can you keep. It has nothing to do with a moral or ethical or work ethic kind of thing. And maybe you're from a background where there's a morality attached to production and success. Rip the mask off of that thing, you're like, oh my gosh, you're right. There is no morality of you being good or bad person, how fast you succeed or not. There's different kinds of plants out there that grow at different rates. People are way more complex than a plant. It's okay to be slower at your growth or faster at your growth. We're all different like that. You are a different kind of plant. Be another kind of plant. We need different kinds of plants. Again, comparison, when you're supposed to be made completely different. Comparison is so easy when we don't look at so many different variables and how we need all those people that we have. Something that sticks out to me from the Bible, can't remember exactly where it is right now, about how God gives us all that we need for life and godliness. When we're comparing what we don't have, we are usually looking for something to make it feel better, make us the next better artist. And we look to something that people have that we don't have. Very easy to put resources towards that we're not ready for. Whether it's thousands of dollars into a studio you cannot fill with your current skill level. But when we look at that verse that God gives us everything we need, and there's other echoes of that throughout the Old Testament, it's not just one verse, he always gives us what we need to do what we need to do right now. Maybe you're in debt, but he gives you the internet. He gives you a phone to call someone to get help or to call for advice. It's not about, oh, I just need this giant job. It's like, no, you can do the 5-minute task, this 5-minute, I need to call someone for help. I just need advice. I need someone to listen to. I need to think out loud to figure out what to do next. I need to Google. Honestly, we've got a lot of resources in our community. We've got the library. Maybe you have a pencil and paper and you're not ready for paint yet. Maybe you just need to ask for paint. I've had tons of times where people have given me free paint. We have what we need right now to do what God wants us to do. And it's a little mind-boggling because we want to jump ahead and like, but God wants me to be full-time. Maybe down the road, right now, right this moment, that's a different question. That's a different question. We have to let things grow because we have to grow into them too. Comparison often involves things we don't have yet. When that happens, please be aware that when the devil comes to steal, kill, and destroy, that's a little bit of stealing right there. When you look at the fruit of how you're feeling, how you're acting, with what you're creating, you look at the fruit of that, is it stealing your time for creation? Yes, you're going to look at priorities and things, but anxiety, oh, that has stolen years for me of creating. So I know that what was causing that anxiety was not a good thing. It was stealing my time for creation. When you're looking at comparison, it's usually stealing what you have right now, which means it's not a good thing. And that's when you know when you're comparing and having a lot of envy toward what they have and not being inspired by what you can do next. Please look at that. I am totally guilty of that. I've seen people so close to what I want to do get what I want, and it hurts. Because I wonder how they got there faster than me. That's a me problem, not a them problem. There are 8 billion people in this world. The art market is not saturated with you. When you find your authentic voice, when you put your story into your art and it's created from the heart, you do not have to worry about things being saturated by that person who's doing the exact same thing. They're not. They're only oversaturated when it's too much alike, and I don't think you have to worry about that when it's coming from your heart. So, what does it look like to be inspired by another artist? And you can look at what they've done, the actions they take, like, hey, how much have they actually posted? Like, what does the website look like? Is it tidy? What color scheme? Like, their photographs. How do the photographs look? It's really easy to attach a morality to, they're so much better than I am, they're so much put together, they're so much more responsible. You see how we can attach those things onto what they're doing? It's very easy to get distracted with that and not look at actions they're taking that you can take too. And honestly, it may not even work for your journey. That's also part of it, is that we're on different journeys. One bit of advice that I've seen on the internet and I love is that I can't tell you what you should do. I can only share what has worked for me. And that was a little mind boggling, right? And it's so true. Even teachers can only teach what has worked in the past. And when God wants to do miracles, it's usually something brand new. What is in your hands, right? That loaves and fishes thing, that little jar of oil, most of those miracles start what is in your hands right now, even as tiny as it is. Sounds a little bit unrelated. I promise it's not, because God takes whatever the heck you've got right now and He's going to use that as long as you put that to work. There's lots more in there. Be encouraged by that. Don't fall for the comparison game. Be aware of it, because it's probably stealing something. To look at what you've got in your hands right now. What can you do next? Can you doodle? Can you draw? Can you scan it? Do you have a phone? Tons of things have started just on a phone. More often being consistent about it, which is it's almost more of being consistent about it than it is having fancy equipment and something you don't have. It's just doing what you can with what you got and being inspired by each other instead of comparing with each other. So everybody validate each other and don't take it personally. I feel like there's a whole big book I could write, or somebody out there has probably written already all about that. Helps you and at least shed some light on why you probably don't have as much time for creation, because we let anxiety and comparison like really shove in there and steal it from us, and it doesn't have to. So let's rip that band-aid off right now and get to work. We're gonna get to work with what we have right now, whatever you got. Dollar store art, give yourself $5. Go draw into the sand, take pictures of it. Whatever you've got, you can do it with that. And I hope that encourages you and kind of lifts that burden of trying to catch up with people that are not on your journey. I hope to see your art someday. I hope to see some mine. Listen below. I'd love your comments below on maybe things you have discovered stealing your time and how you overcame that. I'd love to hear about that. So see you all later.